Anyway, without further ado, let's welcome up our next presenter, Miss Allison Weil.
I'm way too short to like hang out over here.
Ready?
Yeah. Hey everyone. How's it going? Hi. So a lot of you are potentially familiar with this picture, which was all over the news in October 2013 or so. So what I'm going to talk about today is what went wrong exactly with healthcare.gov, how to get so screwed up, the technology side of it. We've all kind of, or a lot of us are familiar with the policy side of it, but less familiar with the things that cause these headlines. And there are really 4 or 5 main reasons that caused all these problems. One is that there were way too many contractors involved. 2 is that the scope was just absolutely massive for the year and a half they had. 3rd was terrible requirements. And the 4th was the government is not experienced in putting together really complex stuff. And so when you put all that together, it creates kind of a problem. Don't read this picture. It's not, the point is not to read it. It's obviously way too detailed. But it's to demonstrate just how complicated the website is. And I put website in quotes because it's a lot more than a website. And so it's a lot more than a website that went wrong. That kind of showed all the data flows of where everything needed to go back and forth in order for all of you to get enrolled in health insurance properly. But there were really 4 major pieces: eligibility, enrollment, product management, and financial management, that all needed to fit together to make the whole thing work. And you're most familiar with eligibility and enrollment pieces. That's what's customer facing. That's what's in the news a lot. And that's the part where they ask you all the questions about who you are, what's your name, what's your social security number, where you live, all of that. And then more than that, what's your income? And those sorts of questions that figure out, are you eligible for tax credits? Are you eligible for cost share subsidies? That sort of thing. So the thing about this is one of the first places where stuff went wrong. This is all really responsive technology. If you remember when you took the GRE, it was smarter in the second half. It knew that you had gotten some questions right. This sort of works the same way, except they're doing real-time verification. And the real-time verification was a brand new type of technology that brought together the data from a bunch of different federal agencies. The ones up here are just an example. And it didn't store the data, it just kind of was a pass-through. Because all of these different groups have different information about you, and it's stored in totally different ways, and you see it in different ways. But in order to get your insurance, they had to get all of that information verified appropriately. Because if they didn't verify it, they couldn't trust you, and well, the government likes their facts apparently. But anyway, let's say you are eligible and you get money, and yay! Then it's time to actually pick an insurance plan, which is the next part where everything went wrong. You saw screens like this, and this is where they say things like, oh, it'll be just like shopping for airfare, and it'll be really easy like Orbitz, except health insurance isn't like Orbitz. There's a lot more to it than just where you want to go and what time and the price. And so getting all this data was the second part that was really complicated, because people at all of these different insurance companies filled out massive Excel spreadsheets by hand. It wasn't an automated process. It wasn't anything exciting. It was 2013, and yet everyone was literally typing everything in manually. And so getting that right was the next part where things just didn't go along to plan, because they didn't plan appropriately for it. So anyway, so you've picked your plan, and you've picked from one of these companies or a bunch more, and it still does you no good because they need to get that information. Right now you're still just kind of on the website having a good time. And they send you, I know, health insurance shopping, really a good time. But anyway, so they send you the information using these data files that look like that. And they are called 834 files, and they're really complicated and annoying, and I could literally spend 3 hours talking about them, but you don't want me to do that. But they have all the relevant information, and I do mean relevant. They have your name and your social security number and your address and what plan you chose and what the premium amount is, but they don't have, just for everyone's awareness, all the, like your income and all the stuff that you don't want or need the insurance companies to have. So they have to go back and forth, and unless they go back and forth, you're not enrolled in health insurance. So this is the next place where stuff went very, very badly, which is that they couldn't send those files for like the first, 2 months or so. And they still can't send them back. And why does this matter? 3 main reasons. First is that kind of number that they keep putting on the news of how many people have actually enrolled in health insurance. Well, they can't really know that unless they get the files back. The second is financial management. You've gotten those subsidies that you're really excited about because you're getting cheaper health insurance. They can't pay it accurately unless they know you're enrolled. And the third is IRS reporting. You've probably heard of the individual mandate where you're required to have health insurance. Again, they can't really know that unless they've gotten the data back from you. And they require that not just from the federal marketplace, also from a bunch of the different state-based marketplaces, because the government is the one who's paying the money. So we've sent 834 files back and forth for enrollment purposes. The last part is financial management, and making sure all the money gets where it needs to go. And that uses a different file. It's kind of similar to that really ugly one I showed you a couple minutes ago. And that's called an 820 file, and it sends the payment information. It's basically like a receipt that tells you how much the government paid. And those didn't really work at the beginning either. So as I said, right at the top, one of the major problems was there were lots of contractors. Only one of these names, this one up here, is the actual government. And this is a very small subset of the number of federal contractors that were working on the website, and no one was really in charge. And when you have nobody in charge, it makes it really hard to make something with a massive amount of scope done properly on a large IT project. So this is kind of a made-up kind of graphic to show of the amount of work needed based on the law. You've all heard like 1,000 pages. A very small amount of it in October 2013 was actually completed and tested, which led to pictures like that. So the combination of all of these things, along with, again, a lack of expertise in the government, who've never done a big project like this before, and all the federal contractors, along with a lack of requirements, you really need to define really clearly what you need to do to get it done in time, and it doesn't work. Anyway, so I just want to leave you with pictures. You see the headlines, but there's actual people behind all of this stuff. And I wanted to leave you with the pictures of some of the few people that I worked on, that I worked with, that are my friends and coworkers, that are still working really, really hard to continue to fix the website. And yeah, that's fine.
Thank you, Allison Weil. All right, so you've heard about health, so now we're going to take 5 minutes so you can get more beer. No, food and beer. And we'll be back in 5.